Good morning and good afternoon, noodles and nudettes, and welcome to Final Fantasy Friday's Extra. It's not exactly Friday, it's 8 o'clock on Saturday evening here in Bonnie, Scotland. So, some new news I have come across, just recently, I must say, is, well, I've got two things I really want to discuss with you. One of them is, article that was written by Kotaku, which has caused some controversy between Final Fantasy fans. Now, it basically says that Final Fantasy has been killed, slowly by Square Enix, and this, is all cropped up because of all the Bravits. Surprise, surprise. And it's kind of horrible because the article image is a picture of Tidus, and he's putting a noose around his neck, and it says, "A slow death." And the article's called "The Slow, Excruciating Death of Final Fantasy." So, we're going to have to talk about that. Well, of course we're going to have to talk about that. So, another piece of news is, which I don't know how I feel about, is that Lightning Returns is not going to be the final Final Fantasy Fabula Nova Crystallis game. So, it's not going to be the last one. Lightning Returns is going to be the last one. It said on the website, the Square Enix guy, I don't know his name, said that Lightning Returns is going to be the last Final Fantasy XIII game to feature Lightning, Cocoon, and Pulse, and the whole mythology of Cocoon and all that. It's going to be the last game to feature that, not the last in the 13 series. Now, I don't know what this is going to be, this new title, as people are calling it. They said, first of all, initially, that there are still plans for Versus and Type 0 for Western release, and Versus to have a release. But, there's this guy that I know, and he told me he thinks there's going to be a Versus 2 or Versus 13-2 once Versus is out. Now, I will probably kill myself drastically, like Tidus is in this picture here. Not that you can see it, but whatever. I do not want that to happen. Versus, if they announced another Versus before Versus is out, everyone would give up. I mean, honestly, the fans, they would go away. They would go over and play some generic piece of crap that they bought on Steam in the Encore sale. Not that Steam's crap. Steam is practically my life, if I must say. So, yeah. Now, the reaction that the fans have got from this is quite good because they mentioned Versus. Anything that Square Enix mentions and it's got the word Versus in it, people are going to love it. Okay? I'm just going to say that. So, it's going to be hard to sustain this new game, I must say, because I've been very patient, and I've stated this in past things I've done. I've been very patient with Final Fantasy XIII. 13, I loved it. I loved it to bits. But then they announced 13-2, and nobody even suggested there was going to be a 13-2. As soon as people had finished playing 13, right, moved on to 14, after that 15, no one expected them to announce a whole saga of Final Fantasy games. Now, we knew that Final Fantasy XIII was going to have Versus in it, which is going to be another game, because that was announced practically around the same time. We knew that was going to happen, but we didn't know it was getting a direct sequel. Now, Lightning Returns that's why I wish Lightning Returns was called Final Fantasy XIII-3, because Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII sounds like a spin-off. It's the same as Dirge of Cerberus. I cannot count that as a sequel to Final Fantasy VII. I count it as a spin-off, I count it as a branch, I count it as part of Final Fantasy VII, but I don't count it as a sequel. It's the same as 10-2, that's a sequel, because it's got 2 in it. 13-2 is a sequel. Lightning Returns is a spin-off. That's what it feels like. I know they say that Lightning Returns is a sequel to the sequel, but it sounds like a spin-off, if you get what I'm saying. That's why I think that's why they've decided to make this Lightning's last story. That's what they've done. They've put it down. I'm smacking my hand with a shoehorn right now. They've put it down. They've said, no, fuck it. We've had enough of Lightning. she's sexy, the stories are good-ish. We've had enough, and you should have enough. I think Lightning Returns spawned from where 13.2 failed. Story was broken into pieces, it was not well placed together, even though that was kind of the aspect of it, like you didn't really know what was happening. Everyone was like, oh, it's okay, this will get explained at the end. Nobody knew we would have to pay some more money to buy the ending to 13.2, and then pay some more money to buy the ending to the DLC. So, at least that's a good thing. They promised they won't be putting any DLC into Lightning Returns. So, that's good. Now, this article thing, the slow excruciating death of Final Fantasy. I do not know how to react to this. So basically, this spawned from the bad reception that All the Bravest got, because I must say that got a lot of bad reception. So I have the article in front of me, and it says, this is quote, "It's easy to pinpoint when exactly Final Fantasy started to die. In 2001, not long after the cinematic financial disaster known as Spirits Within, series creator Hironobu Sakaguchi left the company to go off to Hawaii and surf and make games where you surf. A couple of years later, Square merged with Enix, and it's all been downhill from there, especially for Final Fantasy, which had to stumble through a series of awful missteps over the past few years." Now, Final Fantasy isn't the best video game series ever. I have to admit that. It's not perfect. It's my favourite, but it's not the best. That's something that everyone has to admit. Every Final Fantasy fan has to admit that not every Final Fantasy game has been good. Let's pinpoint a few out. For me, 10 and 14 were the biggest disappointments of the series. I know I'm going to get some hate comments, but I really think I didn't enjoy 10. I just couldn't get into it. 10-2... I wanted to gouge my eyes out. I'm sorry, but 10-2 is not the worst Final Fantasy game I've ever played. It is the worst video game I've ever had the misfortune to own and play. But, you know, that's just how I feel. But my opinion, don't start shouting at me, you know, just my opinion. You guys, if you want, you can put it into the comments. If you think Final Fantasy is dying, or dead, because, number one, I think Final Fantasy can be redeemed. I don't think it really needs to be redeemed, but you know, it's different people's opinions. Because this guy feels the same as me. His name's the Hyphenator. Okay, and he wrote a quote, but 10-2 was where it became Final Fantasy was dead. It was insipid, grindy package of a fan service that was not only insulted the fans of classic Final Fantasy games, but also a fan of the original Final Fantasy X, completely undercutting the original story by bastardizing, he actually uses that word, its own characters and running the ostensibly? Yeah, okay. Tragic sacrifice of Tidus at the end of FF10. I don't think Final Fantasy died, or it was dying. I don't think it has died, because 13... You've got to admit, that was a Final Fantasy epic. That was one of the series' like high points. That was what did it. That's what got a lot of people hooked. A lot of people hated it as well. I think more people hated it than liked it, if I'm to be brutally honest. But, yeah. Look, this is going to sound bad, but how different is 7 from 13? Graphics, story, of course, characters. But how different really is it? They're both set in different contexts, Final Fantasy worlds. There are no castles, nothing, no medieval stuff going on, maybe except like the ancients and all that, but they're all set in futuristic science fiction, which is a word every Final Fantasy fan, except for me, is frightened of. Yeah, they're both set in these futuristic, like, sort of Metallica, weird, pretty places. What's so different about it? You loved 7 and you hated 13. Why? Sure, 7 had its bits where it went off, you went to the past, you saw Cloud and Tifa's relationship sort of delve up. I don't mean relationship as in sort of going out, I mean like friendly relationships. Earth and everything, you saw their backstory. 13 was good, Because you didn't see any of that. It left you to think. Final Fantasy VII explained it all. And if it didn't explain it in the game, it explained it in the film, it explained it in books, everyone online, on forums explained it. I just don't think it's fair to judge them, because Final Fantasy VII could easily have been hated as it was. Because, do you know why they're not hated? Because Final Fantasy VII was out when Final Fantasy was at its high point. 13, people didn't like it because it was new and different. Final Fantasy VII was the first for the PS1. Final Fantasy XIII was the first for the PS2. What's so different? They're both first games stepping into a new area of Final Fantasy. I don't want to offend anyone, I don't want to lose any viewers, but I just want to know what you think. I really do, because does 13 get the hate that it deserves? Is that what it is? And I mean, that's what my talk's going to be today, about what's next for Final Fantasy 13. As we know, Fabula Crystallis is continuing. What's going to happen? Are we getting a 13-4? I don't think we are. I hope we're not. I hope to God we're fucking not, but, you know. And here's a fun fact for you. Do you know Advent Children, the film you loved? That was originally supposed to be a video game. That video game was called Final Fantasy, and I shit you not, Final Fantasy VII 2. You can go check this out online, like on the Did You Know gaming sites. There's a very grainy picture. I just want to get it back up again, not that any of you will see it. There's a very grainy picture of a logo with cloud. I mean, if this has a hoax, if this is something, you know, that's different, something that's not actually weird. But here we go. Here's something that says from computerandvideogames.com. I remember this when it first came out. It is E3 2011 actually. Square, and I quote, would be interested in Final Fantasy VII 2, but needs to be a big budget. Series producer would be interested given the opportunity. So, which means they are willing to continue 7. Would you like that? No, you wouldn't, because everyone's been wanting an HD remake from 7 the second a year passed since it was made. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but, you know, that's why games step up. If Final Fantasy had stayed the same all the way through, no, I would stop playing. If Final Fantasy 2 was the same as 1, 3 was the same as 1, 4 was the same as 1, 5 was the same as 1, 6 was the same as 1, 7 was the same as 1, and on and on and on and on and on, until it's the same game with different characters. Maybe they work slightly differently, slightly better graphics. Because if that's what it was, you wouldn't like it. Even Call of Duty, which is a generic shooter that most people own, I do not own a single one, which I'm proud of, that changes, and you all embrace that change, which I think is what Final Fantasy fans lack. And I'm not saying you lot, I'm saying us as a community. We do not really like change, because like 14 was going to be another online one, people were scared, and yes, that did flop, that was pish. If there's someone out there that likes 14, that you're in a really small minority. Just tell me if you like 14 and I will give you a prize for being the only one in the world. Maybe the one of the 5 in the world that like 14. But that's a big rant I have. Jesus. Yeah, so Final Fantasy 13. What is next for that? My prediction of what will be next for Final Fantasy is it's sort of, pardon me, I sort of burped. So, there's a lot of talk that Versus is going to end up being next gen. So, it'll probably be out next year, that's what I think. I'm hiccuping now. Hang on. There we go. So, let's continue. There's an article here that says, win Final Fantasy Versus. Oh, you're going to win a pre-order. It's not that good. Look, even the box art is from the old PS3 box arts. Like, do you know the one where you got the huge big black label at the top? That's how old the game is. Yeah, anyway. I think there won't be another Lightning one. They practically stated that. But, you know, what Square Enix like? They've said that the Final Fantasy 13 wasn't going to continue. They did it again. Everyone thought 13.2 was going to be the last. They even said they were wrapping 13.2 up with a DLC. And then they bring out a whole new game, a whole new saga, a whole new lovely thing for us to play with. So, what do you think is going to be next for 13? You can Post your response if you want. But I think it'll be a completely new one. Big Type 0 and Versus. Maybe Versus 2. But the day that happens, all man will die. We will all just keel over and die. Not of excitement, of hatred and horror. Square Enix, what are you playing at? Anyway guys, that's practically it from Final Fantasy Friday's Extra. I don't actually know what I spoke about. I don't think any of it made sense. So, if it didn't make sense, and did make sense, spread the love, subscribe, like, comment, share with all your lovely Final Fantasy friends, because we're all lovely and I want everyone to spread the love because all of my friends practically hate it. I have 2 friends that like it, one of them likes it better than the other, and they're awesome as well. I want everyone to like it. I want to go to school and talk about it. That's right. Please, everyone, just buy every single Final Fantasy. Maybe except 14. You know, don't do that. It's a terrible game. So guys, I will see you Friday. Yeah, so that's Saturday, isn't it? Yeah, this is Saturday. So see you guys on Friday for more Final Fantasy Friday news. So from Mr. Metaphor, thanks for watching and goodbye. Sorry if I gibbered on a bit.